oh my God, it's Jay-Z. I gotta go, I gotta talk to him because he does music and I want to do music. I was so insane. So I got my backpack on. I'm so nerdy and I'm like,
We talked about your journey in this music industry.
perfect. Thank
Cool.
you for having me.
Yeah, of course. I'm Adam. I don't know if I told you my name, but I'm Adam. So I saw you were born and raised in New York in the Bronx.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to
Yes.
me about being born and raised in New York.
Um, wow. Wow. It's a lot.
I know it's generic, but hey, what was it
No,
like
no.
growing up there?
No.
Okay.
It was well, I grew up in the projects. I grew up very poor and I had a really, really difficult childhood. My father was addicted to drugs.
I'm
Um,
sorry.
my mom raised me by herself without any family support. Um,
Wow.
I had like my childhood was so difficult. When we saw Will Smith in Pursuit of Happiness, we were like, "Oh, that was nice,"
Oh,
because
wow.
our life was so much worse. Um, so yeah, my life was pretty difficult, but um, I was very optimistic, and it's so strange. Like at like 6 years old, I believed I would write something that would pull me out of whatever situation I was in.
Wow.
I didn't know I would write songs. I didn't know that was a thing. But I know I was a writer.
Hmm.
So I was very convinced on my writing at 6. But mind you, I just learned how to write
I was
basic
gonna say
words. Yeah.
6 years old. I have a son that's 5, or he's turning 6 actually in about 2 weeks or less than 2 weeks. And I'm thinking like him being a writer, like he can. Yeah, he's still tracing letters. I mean, he is writing and learning to spell and everything, but to have that kind of epiphany at that early of an age, that's incredible.
It was very bizarre. I look back and I'm like, where did I get that from? Also, like I was implementing what we now know as like The Secret. You remember The Secret?
Oh
That book?
yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing that around 9, 10 years old,
Mm-hmm.
just naturally. When that book actually came out, I thought it was so strange because I was just under the impression that everyone knew how to do that. And I was like, why would they put this in a book? But yeah, I don't know. I was a strange child. Like I found a lot of light and a lot of dark.
Mm-hmm.
Um around oh go ahead.
I was gonna say real quick. I interviewed somebody that was a musician, but also a numerologist. I don't know if you're hip to numerology.
I wanna be.
Okay, so it's crazy. I mean, the whole thing is just so bizarre. It's all number based, obviously, and you take your first, middle, and last name, put them together, and then your birthday, and it creates all these numbers, right? So I felt as a kid growing up as well that I kind of had like the secret in me. Not that it like I thought I was gonna be a songwriter or anything like that. I just like I would see things, and then I became like when I did the thing anyway. My wife and I both were an 11, which is some sort of you have some like intuition and like the and kind of like the predicting things before they happen. It's really bizarre, and I'd be very curious to see if you did it and you were an 11 also. And I don't fully grasp any of it, but it just hearing you say that kind of just sparked my memory on like, huh, it's just such an interesting concept. And I kind of was getting that from
Yeah.
your like secret vibe. And I wonder if the person that wrote that was also that number. But I it's not something I subscribe to, but it was just a very interesting conversation and concept.
Super interesting. I would love to know how to do those calculations. I've never done that before.
Google
But
it. There's a beautiful website that's free. It'll just do it for
oh, okay,
you,
great.
and then it'll read you like your. It's weird. I mean, to the point where I was like, "This is strange." Like I thought it was like literally like AIing my social media or something and just spouting stuff out that it would assume of me. I don't know. It was just weird. So you should try it. It's bizarre, but that just kind of reminded me of that whole thing with kind of having that intuition of like, yeah, I know I'm gonna write something.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like sometimes when you have absolutely nothing, um, you you start seeking things like from a deeper place,
Hmm.
and you really look like you are like I mean, things are rough. I can laugh now about it because it was so insane, but like it's almost like you've got to operate a bit on a spiritual level,
Hmm.
because there has to be some sort of way out of this or some sort of faith. In it just you have to. So um I feel like I looked in a lot of that, and that's kind of where I saw, I don't know, this I had these like visions of things happening. It's just so strange though, because like we didn't have social media. This was in
Hmm.
the 80s, like
Right. Yeah.
um I didn't watch TV much. Like I didn't have friends like of my age. Like I don't know where I got any of this from. It's very bizarre.
Hmm. But you were, but always, I mean, even at that young of an age, being able to write and comprehend that is very, I mean, above anything. I'm just going off of my son's experience. Like, I couldn't see him writing, like, they're just learning that skill right now. And to have, like, know that that's something that you are good at that age, and that you can kind of see it doing something for you in your life.
Yeah, no. I mean, I feel like kids know a lot more than we give them credit for too.
Hmm.
Um, I like writing with young people. Like I write with people, as young as 12 or 13.
Wow.
And people are always surprised, like, well, what do they talk about? I'm like, they have so much to say. And to be honest, sometimes they have more to say than a lot of adults. Because
Yeah.
you might you might get in a room with some adults and they're just like, I don't have anything to talk about. But then you get with some of these kids and they have so much to talk about, like between the bullying and friends and what it's like growing up right now, and just so many stories to pull from. So I feel like if we can tap into that, we learn a lot about what kids are going through.
Hmm. Hmm. And it's even, yeah, I mean, I grew up in the 80s as well, 80s and 90s, and what we dealt with is so much different than what's happening now, especially with how quickly something could take off within like a school, or just one text, one screenshot. Like, it could ruin a kid's, whole life. It's insane.
I do not want to be young again. Like
Mm-mm.
I'm
No
happy
way.
where I'm
Yeah, I
at.
would
Yeah.
never trade that. Exactly. Exactly. Well, so you were writing obviously at a very early age. When did music kind of become a part of your life?
Um, I think it was always a part of my life. My mom said when I started to like talk, I was already singing in key.
Wow.
And that's when she knew I had some kind of musical, abilities. Because she was like, she's like ad-libbing in key, but doesn't speak words yet.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, it was always a part of my life. I started singing in school choirs in like first grade. Um, just music was everything to me. I would take theme songs from shows that didn't have lyrics, and I would put lyrics to them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
And like
uh,
melody, or sing along to whatever the melody of the
yeah.
instrumental part was. Wow.
Sing along to the melody and put my own words. I was into like Stevie Wonder, Carole King, because
Hmm.
we were really poor. So like I only knew the music my mom listened to. So I would just know those songs. I didn't know who's new, who's older. Like I didn't know any of that stuff.
Hmm.
So I didn't know what anyone looked like either. So I just listened to a lot of like older music, and then I learned a lot of music from the window. You know, Y- you open up your window and there's always DJs playing in the park.
Hmm.
So I would hear like, oh, that's where I got a lot of hip hop from, and became super influenced by R&B and hip hop just from literally the streets.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you DJ as well. Didn't you teach yourself how to like turntable DJ?
I didn't teach myself though. I actually went to a school for a year and a half.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. I was like,
Oh, I know. It is a
yeah.
lot. Not that I'm good at it, but I thought I could do it. I got turntables when I was younger, and I'm like, oh, this seems cool. And I'm like, wow, this is just way more difficult than I could even imagine.
It's a skill, it's an instrument. No, I went to a school that does turntables because I wanted to like properly learn a beat match by ear and learn from the greats. And the school was started by Grandmaster Jay, and it
Wow.
yeah, before he died, sadly, and they just kept on with his legacy. Sorry, Jam Master, yeah, and yeah, it's great. I had incredible teachers who have been playing for decades, and I only learned 5 years ago, but I just felt like I really wanted to expand my skill set. And
Hmm.
what was great about that school, there were 8 courses in it, and some of them were production, so it got me to learn Ableton
Hmm.
and start playing with loops, and gave me more confidence as a producer. So it was great. I think all songwriters should have some sort of skills in this area.
Hmm.
It also opens your brain to like what's listening to music that you don't normally listen to.
Hmm.
And I wasn't really listening to that much current, like trap music and stuff like that before DJing. But then once I started DJing, I had to know, you have to know so much music. I mean, it's crazy. So I just had to like learn and learn and learn, and then it just expanded my mind a lot when it came to my writing. I'm like, oh well, this would never work in a club, or this would work, or oh,
Hmm.
this is missing this kind of energy because I could never play this song. Like I just started looking at things very differently, which was great, but also sometimes frustrating because sometimes the other people in the room can't hear what you're hearing.
Oh, sure. And you're like, this isn't
So
gonna work, or this is gonna work, and they're like, no, it's not. You're like, trust me.
yeah, so there would be moments where it's like, oh wow, this is cool. But then it would be cool because I could like put things in Serato, loop the beat section, put the song vocal in there, and like say, okay, well, this is the feeling I'm going for, and then they could hear it,
Uh-huh.
and I could do it so quickly, just in like 2 seconds. So then they're like, oh, okay, I see what you're saying. It's a great tool. It's really a great tool, and also
Yeah.
like to compare BPMs. You
Hmm.
know, and you see like certain BPMs, there's hardly any songs, and you're like, well, the thing about that song is people will have a hard time playing it because there's nothing to play it before or after. Just so many different ways to look at music.
Yeah, there's such a science to that piece of it. Just knowing, like, oh, if it's not this BPM, it's probably not going to work in this setting, or it's not going to work. Like exactly what you just said, as far as like it'll be hard for somebody to beat match it or play something before to go into it. Came from radio, did it for a long time, and say we would not look at BPM, but look at like sonically how something would sound going into the next song. It wasn't just like an auto select. It was like you had to have a somebody scheduling it, so it made sense in that capacity. It wasn't just like you wouldn't play certain song into another song, just like if you were a DJ. But also looking at the BPM is just like a whole nother like level of of songwriting and structuring a song.
Yeah, I look at BPMs a lot. And also when DJing, it's cool, like keys.
Oh,
It's
sure.
no better feeling when you can mix on the same key into another song, and it just feels so fluid, and it's
Hmm.
like, oh, that ooh, magical like vibe.
Right. It gives you chills. You're like, whoa,
Yeah,
that was cool.
that was freaking great. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. So you mainly grew up what in the chorus choir and before you started songwriting or singing, or were
Yeah.
you also like piano player or anything like that?
No, so I was in basically the New York City Housing Authority, which is the projects.
Hmm.
They started a choir while my first year in high school. I went to high school in Times Square. And
Wow,
yeah, that
that must
was
have been a trip.
sick. So cool. Um, and there were about 20 kids in the choir, and it's crazy. Like the other two of the other choir members, one was Claude Kelly. I don't know if you know Claude Kelly, but he's a massive writer. He wrote like Circus for Britney,
Oh
since,
wow. Okay.
since You've Been Gone. He's a huge, huge, huge writer, and he's an amazing artist as well. Um, Him and then another really successful writer, Little Eddie, he came out of that choir. So we were all in choir together as kids. And
Wow.
this,
That's
wait, it gets weirder.
okay.
The three of us were also coaches on the X Factor.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Okay. And
it's crazy.
so you all just did you stay friends like through the choir and then growing up, or did you kind of like go your own paths and then come back together on an X Factor and be like, oh wow, like we went to the same school or what?
We kind of well, I lost touch with Claude for a while, for like
Okay.
10 years. And once I started really dipping my foot in the writing scene, he already wrote, these huge Britney, Kelly Clarkson songs. He was already one of the biggest writers in the world. And I
Gotcha.
remember being in the studio one day and someone sent me, I think he had a MySpace with these songs on them. And I was asking like, why does Claude have Britney Spears songs on his MySpace? And they were like, because he wrote them. I Claude wrote those big songs. Wow. I just was like, oh my goodness, I had no idea. And that was kind of like such an eye-opening and exciting thing to see what he accomplished.
Hmm.
And then once I got more into the scene, I ran into him like during a Grammy week party, and we reconnected through that. And then I I got asked to coach the X Factor season 2, and they wanted one more coach, and I brought in little Eddie
Hmm.
from the choir. So, and Claude coached the year before us. So it just,
That's crazy.
but it makes sense as well because our choir was incredible,
Okay.
and we had like we learned so many skills from that experience. So we between that and the songwriting and being, singers, blah blah blah, we had like a lot under our belt to offer.
Hmm. Okay. And from that choir, like once you graduate high school, what do you do next? Like how do you continue to pursue music?
By any means. After that choir, I made a lot of friends in the choir, and 4 of us started a girl group, and then that became 3, and then it became 2, and then it became 1.
Oh wow. Okay.
Um, so we did not survive as a group. We tried for a few years, and then I became the lead singer in a band, and we worked with Swiss Beats for a few years.
Wow.
And yeah, and we performed all over like the tri-state area,
Hmm.
lots of crappy clubs, bars, nice clubs. And we did our own songs, and we did some clubs would only hire us for covers. But that's kind of where I really learned a lot of really like develop my writing
Hmm.
because I wrote with my band. So I was like, oh, I would sing a bass line like, oh, play something like this, and like, or direct the guitar, or the keys, and that's we'd write all our songs that way. And it was so much fun, and then we get to perform them out and see how people react to them.
Hmm.
So I did this for years, and I look back on that time. It was such a special time. We made no money, but we were so happy,
Right.
so happy. And I think those moments when they feel so hard, but just enjoy them. Like you can't ever get them back, and I'll never be able to be in that place again. But it was really, really special. So I did that for like 5 or 6 years.
Just
And
writing with the band, basically that was your full-time gig. I mean, you had to deal with Swiss Beats, so this is
yeah, we
the
were,
goal was to blow this band up.
yeah, to perform. And we just, so we didn't get a break. Nothing really big happened for us. The coolest thing that happened, I guess, was I did a song with Bone Thugs and Harmony at the
Oh
time,
wow.
which is cool. It's called Candy Paint with Bone Thugs and Swiss.
That's
And
awesome.
that was so cool. Like, wow. I thought, what's crazy, when I didn't even write that song, Swiss wrote it. He's such a genius. And um I remember when it came out, I was convinced that's the biggest thing I ever do in my life.
Hmm.
I was like, I'm singing with Bone Thugs.
But right, I mean, at the
Like
time, it's still like even nowadays, like if somebody had the opportunity to do something with them, that's massive.
yeah, I was like, this is it for me. Like
I'm
I'm
peaking.
I'm I'm in here. It was so cool. So I did that, and I really was getting into writing at this point, like really loving and enjoying the writing process. And Swiss played one of my songs for Estelle, and she started to work on that song. And then there was another artist. I was working with a producer named Gary Haas, and he played another song for, I believe it's Billy Mann, who gave it to an artist named Eva Simmons, and she
Mhm.
recorded it. It's called Rockstar. So around this time, like two artists are now like playing around with the idea of recording my songs and playing them out and stuff. And I'm like, okay, wait, so this is a thing. Like people could like record a song I wrote and
Hmm.
maybe like put it out. Like, wow, that is a great idea. So, you know, because when you're in the underground band scene, it's like a different planet.
Right.
And it's just there's like you don't even think about those kind of things. You're just I don't know. It was like I was in another world. So
You could write a song and hope an artist that wants to do the grind will do it, and it could do something, right? And you're just like, okay, here's the song. I'm excellent. I love writing these songs, and I'm gonna give them to you to birth, so to speak, like
yeah,
bring to light.
yeah, exactly. So I started going to like all these random music submission e- events. You had to pay like $25 and then the music supervisor will hear your song and say that if they like it or not, if they might put it in something. And I got no, like I never got anything placed. It was pretty discouraging for a really
Yeah.
long time.
How do you keep going and finding the courage to be like, okay, here's another $25. Is this gonna work out again? You
You
just
just
kind of
gotta
knew.
you just gotta believe. You gotta believe in your music. And I always believe like I don't necessarily think things are a no. I'm like, I think I just asked the wrong person, you know?
I
So
like
I'm
that.
like, yeah, I'm like,
Yeah, that's a glass half full type attitude right there for sure.
but it's true. Like honestly, most of the time, you're not asking the person high up enough.
Hmm.
And I noticed that, and every time that happens, I just keep getting reminded. Even now, like constantly, like I want to do something, and I'm told no, but then I ask the very top tier person, and then it's a yes.
Hmm.
So it's more like, well, how do I get to these people?
Right.
Because that's kind of the goal of it all. Just like cut out the middle and just go
Yeah,
straight
and go
to
straight to the
who
person
writes
that, yeah,
writes
that
the
makes,
check.
right. Right.
you
So
know, who,
so you're able to what kind of figure those people out? Like, okay, I know I pitched
no,
to this. Okay.
I figured nothing out. It was just
Okay.
depressing. Nothing was happening for me. So I I had so many jobs. I was working at Costco selling karaoke machines. I sold shoes. I sold handbags. I was in a wedding band. I had 1,001 jobs. Um, at my last job, I started reading A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle, and
Mhm.
I this book changed my life. It just changed the way I think about everything. And
A New Earth, is that what you said it's
A
called?
New Earth, yeah,
I'm writing this down right now.
I highly recommend it. And I've other creatives have read this book on my recommendation, and it's changed their lives as well,
Mhm.
like severely, in the best way. So um, I said I need to write something that I could quit my job, because at this time I was working like 80, 90 hours a week. I was working a full-time job at a shoe store. I was in a wedding band and I was in my own band. And after work, mind you, I was assistant manager. So I'd work like either 9 to 6:30 or 12 to 8:30. After that, I would go to the studio about 4 or 5 times a week and record a demo. And like when I go to the studio, I write and record everything same day, like
Mhm.
within 4 or 5 hours.
Wow.
Songs,
That's
yeah,
fast. That's really fast.
songs done. So I did this every week for a year, and it was super duper unhealthy, super stressful. I don't recommend anyone work to that extent. It's actually not, sustainable. But I was in this New York do or die mentality of I gotta do it now. I was
Mhm.
20, 28, 27, 28, and I'm like, I gotta do it now. This is it for me. And after a year of this grueling schedule, I said, I'm going to write something. So I quit my job. So I got a hotel room near the studio, which was a 2 hour commute.
Wow.
And I wrote something that allowed me to quit my job. And I think it's really important to just say things and write them down, your intentions, and put them out there and manifest them. So I ended up writing a song called Happiness, which which became the song of the FIFA World Cup, basically.
Yeah, that's so incredible.
Yeah,
Like
and
the biggest thing on like literally on earth, right? I mean,
yeah,
football and soccer is so big outside of the United States. And
it's the
oh
biggest sport
my
in the world.
goodness.
It's starting to catch on here, but it is literally, yeah, the biggest
Yeah.
sport in the world. And um, that opened up a lot of doors. So now I started traveling for the first time in my life internationally. I've never been to Europe, and started writing with different artists in the UK. And I realized I really resonate a lot with the UK.
Okay.
I resonate with so much about the musicianship and the freedom you have created creatively in the UK versus the US.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, that's basically
Well, I want to back up for a half a second here. And if you don't mind talking a little bit about happiness, just because I'm curious, like when you write the song and this obviously changes your life. Like, what was it like? Like you turn the song in, it gets cut. And then what is it like when you get these phone calls like, hey, we're going to use like the songs are getting cut. I'm sure that was a big one. And then it's not only that, it's going to be used in the World Cup. And like, what is like what are the
yeah.
feelings and emotions you have going through this kind of crazy roller coaster?
Well, the song was a song first single on a very new artist. So, and it was a new artist on a new label.
Okay.
So it was the first of the first of the first. So I'm a new
Right.
writer on a new
New
artist on a
artist,
new label,
which you probably won't, 9 out of 10 times won't become this gigantic hit that
right.
it does. Right.
Right. So I didn't know what to expect. Everything was new, but Jay-Z was behind it.
Oh,
So it was a JV with Jay-Z and Stargate called Star Rock.
okay.
So there was some great, great, powerful people who really believed in the song. And Jay-Z personally took the song to radio. So
Wow.
yeah. And that's a crazy story. I just want to circle back to high school. So when I was in high school, I met Jay-Z in the street.
Did you really?
So I went to school next across the street from where all the jewelers were, um,
Uh-huh.
in the Diamond District, and basically like all the successful rappers and everyone would go buy their jewels from this guy named Jacob the jeweler. It's in like tons of hip hop records. And one day coming out of school, I see Jay-Z just standing outside Jacob's, and I said, "Oh my God, it's Jay-Z! I gotta go. I gotta talk to him because he does music, and I want to do music." I was so insane. So I got my backpack on. I'm so nerdy, and I'm like, "Mr. Jay-Z!" like, I'm like, "Wow, you do music? I want to get into music. Can you help me? Like, do you know anyone that I could meet? Or I'm in my school choir. I got an internship. I'm working really hard." Yeah, and you know what? He was so freaking nice. This man stood outside the street and talked to me for like 10 minutes.
Wow.
He then gave me a real phone number of a real person at the record company to call. And you know how I know that was a real number? This is so crazy. So I never called it because I realized I don't actually have anything to bring to the table at 16. I was like, I don't have any demos. I don't have any songs. So I never called him.
Uh-huh.
But when I watched the Kanye documentary whenever that was, last month before,
Yeah, the one that came out on Netflix.
yeah,
Yeah, okay.
the person's number he gave me was in the documentary.
Was it really?
Yes. So I just realized Jay-Z gave me a real number to a real person. This guy's name was Hip Hop. And I should have saved that piece of paper.
I know. I was gonna say. Wow. Yeah. I mean, at 16, Jay-Z's like, okay, I got this number for you. It's a guy. It's a person named Hip Hop. You're probably like, okay. Like, I mean, I maybe you weren't, but to me, I'd be like, oh yeah, he's just being nice. Like, well.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought. I was like, his name is Hip Hop. Okay, like sure.
Right.
Like, yeah. And I couldn't, I don't know, like the internet wasn't really like
Right. You
happening like
couldn't
now.
fact check what he was saying or anything. Nor would you be like, Jay-Z gave me this bogus number. Like, well, probably. But wow, how cool to like be validated that really like, wow, that really was a
It really
number.
was. So late years later, 12 years later, that same man, Jay-Z, believed in my first song.
Did you have a
Um,
chance to tell him that you ran
no,
into him at 12?
I
Okay.
haven't. And I did talk to Beyonce though once, but
Wow.
and thanked them for I said, your husband's believing in this record actually changed my life. But I haven't had a chance to talk to Jay-Z, and I would love to tell him about, to thank him for not being rude to a high school kid.
Right.
Yeah, I would
Wow,
love to
that
just
just
thank
says
him.
so much about him. I mean, that's and the fact that he legitimately gave you a number of somebody that was there and would have answered, that's just crazy.
And it also goes to show, go straight to the top.
Yeah, yeah, back to your original point.
Back, like I had it and I messed up because then I kept going back to not the top. But
Yeah.
go
You
straight to
didn't
the top.
know.
You know, who do you need? Jay-Z.
Yeah.
Like just go to the head boss in charge. So yeah, that was really funny that I watched that Kanye documentary. I was losing my mind when I saw him in that. I said, oh my God, all this time, Jay-Z was the truth.
That's so crazy. That's so cool though. Oh wow. So that I mean obviously opens up a bunch of doors. You get to UK. You said that was just those times where you kind of fell into your own. Like this is what you just related, right, to the people there and songwriting there.
Yeah, working in the UK is just magical at especially at that time. Like, radio is very different there. So radio plays everything. Radio plays drum and bass, it plays pop, it
Hmm.
plays hip hop, it plays spoken word. Like, there aren't these genre restrictions as we have here.
Hmm.
It's just so open. You can hear all kinds of music. So when you know that all kinds of formats are going to be played, your creativity is not limited.
Hmm.
So I was able to work with so many different types of artists and um, just explore, which was really exciting. But then I'd come back to the US and I feel like very limited, very
Hmm.
limited. Like working in LA would feel like they only want pop,
Right.
and that for me felt boring
Hmm.
to stick to one thing. I love pop, but I also want to, do other stuff.
So when you came back to the States and worked in LA, would you just write pop and then kind of get your fix for everything else when you went back to
Yeah,
the UK? Okay.
I'd write pop and then I'd play in my sessions music I learned from the UK. I'd play artists that I was excited about, like dubstep artists and, you know, artists using like jazz chords with
Hmm.
with dubstep beats and just mixing of genres and stuff. And people's mind would be blown. They'd be like, whoa, I've never heard
Right.
anything like this. And I'm like, trust me, there's some incredible stuff happening. It's just not going to be on the radio here, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't work on it. It's incredible.
Hmm. No, totally, totally. Wow. Well, I don't want to jump ahead too much, but like obviously you did the X Factor here in the U.S. as the coach, and you're on America's Got Talent also, and you did the TV thing. Were you always just were you writing as well as kind of working on these shows?
Oh yes, I never stopped writing. I was writing less because the shows are incredibly demanding.
Hmm.
So I maybe write half a year as opposed to a
Okay.
full year. Um, but yeah, I never stopped writing. And then one of our winners, Grace Vanderwall, we ended up creating her EP together. So I was able to combine the writing and coaching,
Was
and I worked
coaching
with her.
was coaching something that you had done prior to the show, or was that kind of a new territory for you?
Coaching on that level was 100% new. I mean, when you're in the studio with an artist, you coach them a bit. You're like, sing
Hmm.
it this way, and you demo
Okay.
the vocals, and you kind of do a lot of coaching just naturally. That's part of the job.
Hmm.
But my first day on the X Factor, I was put in a room in Miami in 95-degree heat with
Fun.
120 singers, 120 singers, and a full camera crew. That was my first day,
Wow.
and
That
I
would have
was.
been so overwhelming, I'm sure.
Are you kidding me? And I was told, okay, coach.
What?
There was no like nothing, no plan, nothing. So So little Eddie was there that day. So he took half, I took half, and we went into separate rooms. So he had 60, about around there, I had 60,
Mhm.
and they gave us each a musician. So one, I had a guitar player, I think, and he had a keyboard. And that's it. And then we had six, we had to create some content for a TV
Right.
show with people we never met doing a job we've never done. And like putting you in a room with six, like there's being a vocal coach, and then there's that. Like that's
Right.
something else.
Yeah, you can't really spend a whole lot of time with each person. What do you just say? What can you sing? Sing me something, and then the guitar player will try to fumble around and figure out whatever song they're gonna kind of show you, and then you can what quickly help them. Like, what did you like, how do you even handle
Well,
that?
believe it or not, that choir I told you about when I
Oh,
was 16, I used a lot of those exercises.
oh, that's brilliant.
So I pulled from a lot of that, and I just used my musician as a musician. So I'm like, let's just do this scale. Let's do this scale. And I remembered everything I ever learned in choir. So we had incredible exercises,
Mhm.
different tongue twisters, different scales, all kinds of stuff. So I did that with the group, and then we had individual singing, and then just ask them like, "What's the song about? What does it mean to you? Why do you want to be on the X Factor? What would winning mean to you?" And then just because of the just because of what the nature of the show, you would usually get an emotional response,
Mhm.
and and then you just carry on from there. So I figured it out, but I wouldn't do it again.
Okay. And when you kind of wrapped up that world, there's just back to continuing what you did before. I mean, as far as just writing for
Yeah,
people and songwriting.
yeah, I did it for 6 years. I did a X Factor and then AGT for 5, and
Mhm.
on my last year of AGT, I knew that this was going to be my last year. You just feel it coming to an end, and like you're not growing anymore.
Mhm.
So that's when I started DJ school, and I was
Okay.
planning my next move.
Okay.
Um, so I left, and yeah, started DJing, and getting into production and stuff, and really just opening my mind. Because at that time, like I felt like I was missing something with music. I didn't have that spark in me.
Mhm.
I felt a bit depleted, just drained, and it's just overworked. So I needed to find life again, and find inspiration again, and find something to spark me again. And DJing did that. Like I started loving music again, loving hip hop, loving all kinds of genres, just loving music, loving listening to it. And then that ended up transferring into loving creating it
Wow.
in a different way
Mhm.
than I ever had. And then I became more creative and more confident than ever. And I actually started writing a lot a cappella after that.
Really?
Yes, I write a lot a cappella, a lot.
And
And I
just sing the piece and the lyrics and send it out to people and just say, "Hey, this is like from like that acapella piece, is that what you present to an artist or somebody in a songwriting
oh
co-writing
yeah,
session?"
I'll record it on my phone, or if I have time, I'll record it in Logic,
Mhm.
with a click track and everything. And I have a production partner, Kizzo.
Mhm.
So I just bring it to the studio. I'm like, bro, I got an idea. And he's used to it now. Like he's like, okay. And some of my ideas are like crazy. I was one song I switched 4 keys in the same song.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's
Whoa.
crazy. Just in the verse.
In the verse alone, 4 different keys?
Yeah,
What is that, a
exactly.
different key per line almost? Like
Pretty much.
oh,
Pretty much.
wow.
But you don't really notice it in the melody. So I just feel I love the freedom of just being creative, and just like kind of like receiving whatever comes to you, and just letting it out, you
Mhm.
know, without overthinking it. Just like, oh, this feels so good. Um, so yeah, I write very differently than I did, 10 years ago. I write very, very free now. And and a lot of it works,
Mhm.
as opposed to in the past when I was, more doing I feel like more of the chasing energy.
Mhm.
Um, a lot of the songs didn't work, and now a lot of it happens. Like comes out.
Sure. And then
Mhm.
you score a Grammy and album of the year. And like, I want to talk to you about that and like working so you work with Jon Batiste and in like, is that a relationship that started pre-pandemic? Cause I know you started this amazing organization that I want to get to real quick as well. But when do you start working with him on We Are, which obviously you won a Grammy for on Sunday?
Um, so we started working together in 2019.
Okay.
I
So
well,
pre-pandemic, is that when the record? Because you wrote
yeah,
what, like
five
five or
songs.
yeah, with him on the record.
Well, actually, maybe it started 2018. So the first song was a song called "Sing" on the album. That I wrote that song. That was another acapella vibe. So I had that. It was a session with these guys called King Garbage, and um, I just I had an Uber ride on the way there, and the Uber driver said, when I'm really sad, I have to sing, and it makes me feel better. And I was like, wow. So I got to the studio, and
Wow,
I
what a
wasn't really.
deep conversation from a Uber driver to just drop on you.
I know. I can have some very man. That's a whole nother podcast. The deep conversations I've had with strangers. But yeah, so I that just like really hit me when he said that. And I got to the studio. By the way, this was a last minute session. I got called like at 6 o'clock to come there at 9. It was so random. I never heard of these guys, didn't know them. I get there, I'm not in the greatest mood. I'm kind of tired, frustrated with a lot of things, and I wasn't feeling any tracks, nothing. And I said, I'm just gonna sing something in the room and then just like follow me if you can. Mind you, I have never done that in a session. Never in my life. Never. Like not in a pop session. With my band, I would have done that years ago, but in a pop session, no.
Mhm.
And I just literally started singing the song, Sing. It just came out. It was like a spirit, like an outer body experience though. Like it just came out. And I was even like it's coming out your mouth and you're like, I don't know what's happening. It's like the scene in like Beetlejuice, like, when they're just all at the table. So afterwards, like I was like, well, that was weird. Well, I don't know. Maybe the song sucks, whatever. It was to me, it was so weird. And so
Mhm.
they put some chords to it and I forgot about it. Months later, months later, I get a demo back with a guy singing the song with full on production, like this whole New Orleans, incredible. I mean, I never heard anything like it in my life. Never. And I said, who is this? I said, this is the best song I've ever been a part of. I don't know who this is, but it's the best song I've ever been a part of. And
Wow.
whoever's singing this song is my musical muse, and I need to know him. I need to find him. Who is this? And they were like, it's Jon Batiste. I was like, who's that? I didn't know him.
Right.
I didn't know him. So I said, I just had his name. And I'm like, okay, I gotta find this guy. It took me months to track him down. Months and months and months. Then I start messaging him on social media. He doesn't see my messages. Finally, I fly to New York for 36 hours to surprise my mom for Mother's Day. The second I land, he sees my DM. I'm not making this up. This is crazy. Second I land, I get a DM. Hey, it's John. I just saw your message. It's crazy because the last time I checked them, it was Madonna, and now it's you.
Wow.
I was like, wow, okay. I'm just here for a quick minute, but I gotta meet you, man. Like 100%. I gotta know you. So the next day, I booked my mom's lunch right next to Colbert. So I said, Mom, I gotta just meet somebody really quick. I took her with her friends so that they had company. I said, I
Mhm.
just gotta meet someone across the street. I'll be right back. So I ran to meet John. And the day I meet him, mind you, I don't know him. The day I meet him, he's dressed in a full Prince costume because they're doing a Prince tribute. He's got makeup, a wig. He's already tall and thin. He got heels on,
Oh man.
this whole Prince outfit. And this is my first impression. So I'm like, wow, like wow,
Bold.
wow, wow. I said, wow, like, yeah, man, I'm with it. Honestly, like with that, what I heard on that demo, which is exactly what it sounds like on We Are.
Mhm.
What I heard, that man could have wore an egg costume and I would have been in it. I was like, dope. I'm in.
Mhm.
I don't care about any of it. I'm just so excited about their talent. So we played each other music that we liked. He played the music he'd worked on. It was everything was just incredible. We had so many similar influences, and basically we started texting like about okay who we're gonna work with, start like getting ideas of sessions and stuff. All that went out the window. A couple months later, I get a call from a black number on a Sunday evening. Hey, I'm in town. Let's get to work. I'm like, who is this? It's Jon Batiste. I was like, bro, it's like Sunday night. I was like, I can't get any of these producers you wanted by Monday. This takes me months to book these guys. Like, these were all huge producers. So, luckily, I was sitting right next to my now production partner, Kizzo, and we were already writing together loads. And I played Kizzo sing, and I'm like, man, I got this artist in town. He's so incredible. Um, do you do this kind of music? And he was like, well, let's try it. John comes over. We spend maybe 3 days together. Second day, we wrote Freedom.
Whoa. And that was
Second,
also record of the year nominated for.
that was the second song we ever wrote together. Was Freedom.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Um, we were supposed to go to a barbecue that day. It was 4th of July, I think. We were supposed to go to barbecue, and um, yeah, we didn't. We said, you know what? Let's not go. Okay. And we didn't go. And
So
really
4th of
glad.
July, what, 2019? I'm
Yeah.
checking it. Okay.
Yeah. We didn't go, and glad we didn't go
Right.
because look what happened. So we then Kizzo and I were like, we this guy is really good. We don't know if he has a record deal. We don't know if he has a manager. We don't know any of this stuff. We just
Mhm.
really like making music with him. So we're like, let's just go to New York and make songs with him. I'm like, yeah, let's just do it. So we book our own hotels, flights, everything, go to New York for like a bunch of days, and we just make a studio in his dressing room at Colbert. And we start writing the bed of We Are. We write We Are. We write I Need You, Show Me the Way.
So he was working on the show. I guess I don't know his backstory when it comes to the Colbert thing.
Yeah, he's the house band.
Oh, okay.
Hmm.
Okay, that makes sense then.
Yeah, he's the house band, and it's a job.
Mhm.
So in between takes, we're just coming up with song ideas. So that's basically like how John has the thing is John has wanted to make this album way before he met us, but it kind of like sparked it all when we met. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
he everything was already in him. It just needed like I don't know, it was already there because it the way that this all flowed so quickly. We really wrote most of the album in like technically a week.
Wow.
Yeah,
That is so
technically a week.
incredible.
Yeah. Mind you, the production and all that
Yeah,
after took a
took a
really
while.
long time, like
Yeah.
choirs and all the instrumentation, and this took a really long time.
Mhm.
But the actual just songwriting of it didn't.
Wow.
Mhm.
And then and then after the bulk of that's done, right? The pandemic hits, and then it's okay, now everyone's kind of sitting on their hands waiting to see what's going to go on, and you decide to start this amazing fund that's going to help people and songwriters that are in these positions, like don't have, the income that isn't it's not coming in anymore, right?
It's not coming in anymore. COVID was devastating for songwriters, because like we only make money from radio
Hmm.
and from syncs, really.
Right.
There's no money in streaming for us.
And no
So
one's making movies, making television shows to get your songs syncs
no.
in. And the radio, I mean, how many people weren't like actively driving around? Not a lot. I mean, it was just a whole crazy world.
It's crazy. Like people don't realize as soon as TV production stopped, that meant, we weren't getting the big commercials. We weren't getting the Netflix syncs. We weren't getting all these syncs that we need to make a living. We're
Hmm.
gone. And very early on in the pandemic, I saw my friends were already struggling, like my friends that were musicians, that were gigging. So I started just raising money for my friends and on a very small level and giving it to them. And at the same time, Songwriters in North America, received money from John Platt at Sony
Hmm.
to help songwriters. So he gave, I think it was like $125,000 or something like that to Sona, and they needed someone to help run that organization. So I'm like, well, I'm kind of doing that on a very small scale.
Hmm.
So why don't I just join you guys and do it bigger, you
Hmm.
know? And that's basically what we did. And we started raising more and more money and just giving it to songwriters. So we gave out over $500,000 in grants to
So cool.
songwriters through COVID. Yeah. And
That is
now,
so huge.
thank you. And the fund is still here, but we're working on transitioning it to mental health.
Wow.
Yeah. So we want to give mental health grants and help to songwriters next.
That is amazing. That is so amazing. I love the logo that they came up with too. Or I don't know if you had a part in that with
I,
it's like two earbuds that make
I
a
made
heart.
that.
Did you really?
I made the logo. Thank
That
you.
is such a rad logo.
That's my first logo I ever made. Thank you.
Really? I thought I had to be done by like full on graphic designer. But wow, you have a career in that as well. Not only songwriting and, you know,
Now,
nonprofits.
I went on
Yeah.
one of those websites where you can like use some templates and move things around.
But that's so creative.
Thank
I love
you.
it. Yeah, I think
I'm
that's so
glad.
awesome. And I mean, everything you're doing is amazing. And so much, congratulations times a million on the Grammy and just being a whole part of that. I'm sure that just had to be, again, another overwhelming out of body experience to just,
It's still really, really overwhelming and really when we made the album, we said it in the dressing room. We said, we're gonna get a Grammy for this.
wow.
But saying it and it happening,
It's the
very
secret.
different.
It comes back to when you were
Yeah.
6 years old. I'm telling you, you're probably a number 11 on the numerology chart.
I gotta find out. I wanna know.
uh,
But it actually happening, there's nothing to prepare you for that. Even if you believe as much as you can believe, you still can't prepare for it. And it's a historic win. John is the first Black artist to win Album of the Year in 14 years.
wow, I didn't know that. That is massive.
And I'm the eighth woman to win Album of the Year as a producer,
Wow.
the eighth woman in history.
That is, and what is the 60 something,
Four.
60, 64th year of it? I mean, and
Out of that eighth, I'm the fourth as for a non-artist of the album.
wow,
Yeah.
that's so huge. Congratulations again, times like a million for
Thank
everything you're
you.
doing. And uh, when you get that, like I said, when you get the actual Grammy and whenever it shows up, like I would be walking around with that thing.
I'm gonna sleep with it.
I would, or lock it in like some super thick glass case, so knowing that nothing would ever happen to it.
Yeah, for
I mean,
sure.
what a validating moment for you, I'm sure. Just
It is.
everything.
I didn't think we were gonna win towards the end because it was a long day. It was a really hard day Sunday.
Mhm.
I've lost like 5 pounds Grammy weekend.
Oh, wow, just stress.
Yes. No,
Oh man.
I'm not joking. I actually have. I looked in the mirror and I was like, whoa, you look different than when you left Thursday. Like,
Wow.
so I weighed myself and I'm like, oh my God. Because there just was no time to eat. You're
Uh-huh.
walking through these casinos, it's hot.
Oh yeah.
It's just like it was nonstop. So Sunday was a grueling day, beautiful day, but really long. Red carpet was 2 hours in the sun, in Vegas hot sun.
Oh man, and just constantly smiling and pictures and no, my, I can't even imagine.
I was sweating, like I was sweating under my gown. I felt my gown like wet.
Oh wow.
And I'm like, I think I'm like not well. Like I'm so by the time our category came up, it's now been like 12 hours since I was been getting ready for this day,
Right,
you
that's the
know,
last one they do, I bet, right? Of
the
course.
last award of the night.
Yeah.
And I was like, we ain't got it. We didn't get it. It's okay. I'm happy we're nominated. And then when he said Lenny Kravitz, we are, I was like, what? Like, what what's happening? Like, no. I started crying.
Oh yeah.
I posted my reaction today on Instagram because my husband recorded me crying. He recorded the whole thing and I made a little like montage about it. But
Oh, okay. I saw the video post pop up and I didn't click on it yet, but I'm going to right here in a second.
it's a tearjerker where I
Okay,
am.
I'm exciting.
All
I'm
my friends have
excited
been
for it.
crying. But I just didn't expect it. And at that point, it was just such a long day and like but wow, it means so much because album of the year is, it's a body of work
Mhm.
and that's what it was. Like for songwriters, we're not encouraged to make albums. We're encouraged to make singles, encouraged
Yeah.
to make things that stream well.
Mhm.
But I have been preaching and preaching, I feel like to myself, really only because I don't know if anyone listens, but about no, let's make albums, let's make bodies of work. If we make it, people will listen. But if we're not even giving them the option,
Mhm.
we gotta still stay true to the art. And I'm just so happy at work. Thank you, God. Because I people are like, how do you feel? I said, not crazy. Because I feel like I've been looking crazy for the past couple of years talking about all this stuff. And I'm like, gosh, for it to actually happen, I finally don't feel crazy anymore. Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, to have I mean, helping pretty much write the whole record, 5 songs on the album, and then it wins album of the year. And the second song you guys write is also up for record of the year. And that just speaks to the album and the, talent behind it. It's so incredible.
He's the greatest. He really is. I gotta say, like, I prayed for an artist with a message for a long time. I really did. I worked with a lot of artists. And I just always wanted someone to just really say some stuff that I think the world needed to hear.
Mhm,
And I couldn't find that artist. And then I met John.
mhm.
So I'm just really grateful.
Amazing, amazing. Again, so many congratulations. And thank you so much, especially, you know, 3 days after you win album of the year, you're chatting with me. Like, I can't be more, blessed. I appreciate you doing this. And thank you so much, Autumn, for taking time today and talking with
Thank you
me.
for having me. Thank you so much. And I'm really glad that you're doing something that's, covers songwriters. So thank you.
Of course. I have one more quick question before I let you go. I want to know if you have any advice for aspiring songwriters.
Definitely so much advice for aspiring songwriters. For one, I'd say like write from your truth, write from reality, write from something that you know about. Uh, Figure out kind of like don't forget why you're making music and what's your goal. Like I think it's good to have a goal. Like, is your goal to make pop music? Is your goal to what is success to you? My idea of success is to make music I love every day. But some people, I know some really successful people, that's not their goal. Their goal is to have big hits. And some of those people are really unhappy with some of the biggest hits in the world. And they tell me, they're like, I don't like these songs, but I like success. So I found that very interesting. I'm like, wow. See, they're like, I don't even like hip hop, but I make these beats and people buy them, but I don't care. But I like to be rich. And I'm like, interesting. That personally, that's not for me. You know, I'll probably never be as rich as that person, but I want to be fulfilled and I want to do something I really, really love. So I think it's just important to kind of like know what you want and don't burn yourself out either. Like I burned myself out for quite a few years. And I did the thing is when you're burnt out, you don't know you're burnt out because it feels normal.
Mhm.
You know, it just feels like super normal to be exhausted and not inspired because you just accepted that's what you're supposed to feel like. But take a step back, take time off. The hardest thing for me was to learn to enjoy life and um, tell myself I deserve to have a life as well. You know, to tell myself I deserve to enjoy life. I deserve to not just work every day. I deserve to be a human being, you know, that doesn't just make music. Um, because we get so on this path of like we got to just keep working, or things are not going to happen for us. But honestly, the less I wrote, the more success I had because the less I wrote, the more I had to say when I did write. So, um, kind of everything we're told, get rid of it, and just try to create the best music you can make with people you like to make music with.
Bringing it backward.